You ever look back on your life and realize the moment everything started to fall apart wasn't when someone left, but when they said, "I just need some space"? That sentence still echoes in my mind like an empty hallway. My name's Ryan Cooper, and this is how the woman I loved more than anything taught me what heartbreak really feels like. It started like any other evening. Soft light spilling through the curtains, the smell of Olivia's favorite candle burning in the corner, and the faint sound of rain tapping on the glass. We'd been married for 3 years at that point. 3 years of what I thought was love. 3 years of shared mornings, long drives, and whispered promises that felt like forever. That night, she sat across the table from me, her fork just pushing food around her plate. She wasn't really eating, just pretending to. I noticed her eyes weren't meeting mine. They hadn't for weeks. I asked her gently, "Liv, something wrong?" She looked up for a second, and I saw it. That distant look. The one people get when they've already made a decision but don't know how to say it yet. "I'm just tired, Ryan," she said softly. "Work's been a lot lately." But her voice was too calm, too controlled, and I knew that tone. The tone people use when they're trying not to lie, but already have. Olivia worked in marketing, ambitious, always chasing the next big campaign. We met in college, back when she still wore hoodies and messy buns, before the heels, before the perfect lipstick, before the kind of confidence that turned heads when she walked into a room. Back then, I loved that she was driven. But over time, that drive started pointing her away from me. Late nights at work turned into weekends away for team meetings. Her phone, once something she'd leave lying around, now never left her hand. She started sleeping facing the other way. Small things, tiny silent changes that together felt louder than any argument. I kept telling myself it was just stress. Maybe I wasn't giving her enough attention. I work long hours too. Architecture doesn't exactly let you clock out mentally. Still, I tried. Dinners, flowers, little surprises. Nothing seemed to reach her anymore. Then one Friday, she came home early, something she hadn't done in months. Her hair was perfect, her perfume stronger than usual, her smile forced. She said, "Can we talk?" My heart sunk instantly. People only say, "Can we talk?" before they change your world. We sat on the couch. She took my hand, looked down, and said the words that split my chest open. "Ryan, I think I need some space." At first, I didn't understand. Space from what? From me? From us? "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I don't know," she said. "I just feel lost. I need to find myself again." Find herself. Funny how people always lose themselves right before they find someone else. The next few weeks were quiet, too quiet. She started staying with her sister for a while. Her texts became shorter, calls rarer. At night, I'd find myself sitting in our bedroom, staring at her side of the bed, cold, untouched, mocking me. I tried to focus on work, but every building I designed, every blueprint I drew looked like a cage. My mind wasn't in lines and angles anymore. It was stuck replaying every little moment, every smile, every laugh that suddenly felt like a lie. Then came the moment I'll never forget. It was a Wednesday night. Her phone buzzed on the counter while she was in the shower. It wasn't snooping, I swear it wasn't, but something in me, instinct, pain, maybe desperation, made me look. The message was short. "Miss you already. Can't wait for Friday. D." My heart stopped. D. Daniel Brooks, her coworker, the same guy she swore was just a friend. I remember standing there, phone in hand, feeling my throat tighten. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I just stood frozen. Because in that second, the world didn't end with noise. It ended with silence. When she came out, she smiled and kissed me like nothing had happened. And I let her. Because I wasn't ready to let her know I knew. Not yet. That night I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling, feeling her breathing beside me, steady, peaceful, while my chest felt like it was burning from the inside. How could she sleep so easily next to the man she was betraying? The next morning, I told her I'd be working late, but I wasn't going to the office. I followed her. She met Daniel at a cafe downtown. They didn't see me. They sat close, laughing, holding hands under the table, and in that moment, I wasn't angry. I was empty. Because anger means you still care. And I realized something in me had died right there on that sidewalk. That night, I drove aimlessly through the city. The streets blurred through my tears. I stopped by the lake, the one we had our first date, and sat there until dawn. Everything looked the same. The sky, the water, the sound of the wind. But I wasn't the same man anymore. For the first time in my life, I felt what it meant to be truly alone. Not because someone left, but because the person who promised to stay had already gone long before. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. Part of me wanted to hear her lie, just to see how far she'd go. So I waited. I played the part of the clueless husband, quiet and distant, until one night I couldn't anymore. She came home late again, her hair messy, her lipstick faded, smelling like a cologne that wasn't mine. I asked her, "Who were you with?" She froze. "I told you, work." I looked her straight in the eye and whispered, "Daniel." The silence that followed was heavier than any scream could be. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She just looked away. That look, that's when I knew I'd already lost her a long time ago. That night, she packed a bag. No drama, no shouting, just quiet tears and the sound of a zipper. Before she left, she said, "I didn't mean to hurt you, Ryan." I smiled. Not because I was okay, but because I finally understood something. "You didn't hurt me, Liv. You just showed me who you are." She stood there for a moment, eyes red, like she wanted to say something, but she didn't. She just walked out. And that was the last time I saw her as my wife. I spent that night sitting in the dark, staring at the empty doorway, realizing how strange it is, how someone can fill your whole world one day and be a stranger the next. How a house full of love can suddenly feel like a graveyard of memories. But deep down, something shifted in me that night. The pain started to harden, not into hate, but into strength. Because if she could live without me, then maybe I could learn to live without her too. That was the night everything broke. But it was also the night something new began. The quiet start of a man rebuilding himself from the ashes of betrayal. And as I stared out at the rain against the window, I whispered to myself for the first time, "You'll be okay, Ryan. One day. One day." I didn't hear from Olivia for the next few days after she came home late that night. She acted normal. Too normal. Like nothing had happened. She cooked dinner, asked about my work, even kissed me goodnight. But her eyes told a different story. They no longer searched for mine. They floated somewhere else, like a bird that had found a better sky to fly in. I tried to convince myself that maybe I was overthinking. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe she was tired. Maybe the city had changed her pace. But inside me, a quiet storm started to brew. Every time her phone buzzed, I felt my pulse skip. Every time she smiled at something on the screen, I felt something die inside me. One evening, I came home early from work. She didn't expect me. The apartment smelled of her perfume, that expensive one she only wore when we went out together. I heard her laugh from the balcony, soft and delicate, but not meant for me. I froze in the hallway, hearing her whisper, "I miss you too." Then a pause. "He'll be gone for the weekend. You can come." My heart broke in complete silence. I didn't storm in. I didn't shout. I just stood there, holding my breath, my chest tightening like it was caving in. When she hung up and turned around, she saw me. For a moment, her face turned pale. Then she smiled, forced and shaky. "You're home early," she said. I nodded. "Yeah, wanted to surprise you." She didn't know what to say next. I could see panic flickering behind her eyes. I smiled,
pretending not to know, pretending to be the same Ryan she had loved once. Inside, though, I was falling apart. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay next to her watching the city lights slip through the curtains, painting thin golden lines across her face. She looked peaceful. I wondered how someone could sleep so calmly while killing the person next to them. My phone was in my hand all night, my thumb hovering over the call button to confront her, to call my friend, to do something. But I didn't. I just stared, listening to the sound of her breathing, wondering when exactly love had turned into this kind of war. The next day, I pretended to leave for work. I parked my car 2 blocks away and waited. At 10 a.m., a sleek black car stopped in front of our building. She came down wearing that same perfume. Her hair was done, her lips painted red. I watched her get into the car with him, Daniel. I had seen his face once before at a corporate event she dragged me to months ago. He was everything I wasn't. Loud, confident, expensive. The kind of man who never learned the word enough. They drove off, and I followed. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. The whole world around me blurred into streaks of light. Every turn they took felt like another knife twisting in my chest. They ended up at a seaside hotel. Not too fancy, not too cheap, the kind of place built for secrets. I sat there for hours, staring at that building, my heart hammering against my ribs until they finally came out just before sunset. She looked happy, radiant even. I hadn't seen that smile in months. She laughed when he brushed something off her cheek. She touched his arm, and in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't angry. I was empty. When she came home that night, she smelled of his cologne. I said nothing. She kissed me on the cheek, went to take a shower, and I sat there, staring at the door she had closed behind her. The sound of running water filled the room, and I thought about how love sometimes doesn't end with explosions. It just dies quietly, like a candle flickering out. Over the next few weeks, I watched her drift further away. Her lies got better. Her excuses got smoother. And I played along. Not because I was weak, but because I wanted to see how far she'd go. I wanted to understand what kind of person I'd been loving all these years. One night I confronted her, not with anger, but with calmness she didn't expect. "Sophia," I said softly, "do you love me?" She froze, halfway through pouring wine into her glass. "Of course I do. Why would you even ask that?" I smiled faintly. "Then tell me, where were you today?" Her hand trembled slightly. "At work, where else?" I nodded. "Right, at work." The silence stretched between us like a knife's edge. She looked away first. I knew she wanted to fight, to throw the blame somewhere else, but I didn't let her. "I know about him," I said quietly. "Daniel." Her glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. She stared at me like I'd just ripped open her soul. Then came the tears, the excuses, the apologies. "It didn't mean anything, Ryan. I was lonely. I was stupid." I didn't yell. I just watched her crumble. My calmness scared her more than any shouting ever could. "When?" I asked. "It started a few months ago," she whispered, her voice shaking. "It was a mistake. I swear. I still love you." I laughed, a small, broken laugh that didn't sound like mine. "You can't love someone and still destroy them, Sophia." She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. For the first time, she realized she couldn't reach me anymore. That night, she slept in the guest room. I sat by the window till sunrise, watching the city wake up, feeling like I had aged 10 years in a single night. In the morning, she was gone. No note, no goodbye, just gone. I thought that was the end, but I was wrong.
It had been 14 days since Sophia left. 14 days of silence, of waking up to cold sheets and a quiet